I am and on behalf of the Alumni Network of the German Section, Department of Foreign Languages, Savitribai Phule Pune University, and the German Department, Fergusson College, I extend a cheerful welcome to our guest speaker for today, Ms. Pradnya Bivalkar, and to all the German language enthusiasts present here. It is a great delight to see you all for the fourth session of the webinar series Zukunftsmusik Berufschancen mit Deutsch. All the participants are free to keep their cameras on, but the mics will be muted. But don't worry, we will be taking questions from the audience after the interview. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today, Ms. Pradnya Bivalkar. In this session of Zukunftsmusik, she will share with us her experiences and insights about her profession. She has been living in Germany for 13 years and is currently working as the senior project manager at the Robert Bosch Academy. She has gained rich experience by designing and running the International Exchange Program Media Ambassadors India Germany of the Robert Bosch Stiftung. She has completed her bachelor's in economics and her master's in German studies, both at Savitribai Phule Pune University. In addition to that, she has completed her PhD in the field of film and media studies from the University of Tübingen and is now awaiting its publication. Ms. Pradnya Bivalkar was also a member of the selection jury for the category short films during the 17th Indian Film Festival, Stuttgart. Moreover, she has worked as the International Communications Officer at the German Development Institute. She has presented her views on a variety of issues on different public platforms, which include expert interviews for Deutsche Welle Nachrichten and for Swiss National Television in their Foreign Affairs magazine. She is also a recipient of several scholarships. Ms. Pradnya Bivalkar was invited by the Office of the President of Germany to the annual Bürgerfest in recognition of her work and contribution to the civil society in Germany. She dedicates her free time to discover new cultures and to learn new languages. She speaks Marathi, Hindi, English, German, and is learning French. She spends a lot of time reading books, delving herself into the local culinary culture, and also experimenting in the kitchen. We are honored to have you with us today, and we look forward to our conversation. Without any further ado, I now hand it over to Mohini. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isha. A very warm welcome from my side too, dear Pradnya. It is my honor to have an opportunity to interview you today. So, without wasting much time, I'll directly start with the interview with my first question. And the very basic question which I had in my mind, which I really thought to ask you, is like, when, why, and how did you start learning German? And why not any other language than German?
So first of all, thank you for having me today. I'm quite excited about this because I think this is a wonderful platform for me and my peers to talk to students who are pursuing German at the moment and are looking at interesting career paths going ahead. So going back to my beginnings of my journey with German. So let me say that very bluntly, it was a chain of coincidences, as most of us kind of in our 11th or 12th standard think German is a scoring subject, whatever scoring is supposed to mean. I chose German as a scoring subject in my 11th and 12th. And then I think that was still a time where I was not so convinced about my choice. And then later in the second year, when I started my bachelor's, my major subject was economics. And there was a vast gap between where German in first year ends and where German in second year starts. So it really got to me and I was thinking, oh my God, this is too much. I don't think I can handle this. I want to just drop the subject. And I approached Khair ma'am at that point, and I asked her if she would be so kind and agree to me dropping the subject, and she plainly refused. She said, "I'm not going to sign the form. I think you're plainly being lazy. So do whatever you want. You are not dropping the subject." So then I was really not left with much of an option, but had to take learning German seriously. And when I asked my father if I could also do like a MMB course in the parallel, he was very specific. He said, I don't want you to start something and then leave it halfway. I want, if you're starting with a course, make sure you do it all the way along and then finish your last course as well. So I think with all of those kind of different influences in the picture, I had to start learning German. And I had to take it seriously because otherwise my general grades would have suffered a lot.
Yeah.
And that was my beginning of my that was the beginning of my journey with German, if whatever, if that is something that we can call it.
And learning this language, like learning any language, is like the start of it, the start point of it. So, what were the difficulties or what were the challenges which you faced during learning the language, the phase of learning
Oh,
the
so I
language?
think grammar, the grammatic was, I think, my biggest challenge, because I don't think I'm the kind of person who shies away from expressing myself, but expressing myself in a grammatically correct way was always a big challenge for me. And then making sure that you're learning the right articles, then you're using the right cases while you're framing your sentences, and then also using the right prepositions and learning those verb preposition jodis um, properly. I think those were some of my biggest challenges. And I also remember, I think in my B2, I think that time it was called M2, Mittelstufe 2. I think that was one of the levels where, because grammar gets really heavy at that level. And I think that was one level where I did not do well because it was just too much for me. So it's not that my journey has been like, without any big challenges in itself, in that way.
Yeah, in the
And
learning
I
phase
think
itself.
even today I still struggle to I think there are a few people who I respect a lot, and if they are somewhere around, I still have my doubts before speaking in German, because I'm always thinking at the back of my mind, what if I say something wrong, and what if they think, is this what I taught you? So yeah.
It happens, true, very true. So I think we have participants who have just started learning the language, so to say, or like they're trying to
Yeah.
pursue their career in the language itself. So was this question. So we'll definitely come to your very interesting and inspirational career path. But before that, we would like to know the milestones in your German learning that influenced your career till now. So to say, whatever you did, which has helped you till you're here in Germany.
Mm. So I think
So what were the milestones?
so I think I would say there would be like 3 or 4 big milestones. My first milestone would be completing the Oberstufe in MMB. And Rajashri, who is also here today, she was actually my teacher for Oberstufe. So I think that was one level where I actually genuinely enjoyed the whole process of getting acquainted with Germany, that went well beyond just the grammatic and the learning of your vocabulary. I think that was a course I genuinely enjoyed a lot. And that got me thinking. My second milestone was I worked in Oman for a year as a Reise Begleiterin, or as a tourist guide for German speaking tourists who came to Oman. And that is something that stoked my interest into Germany as a country, because by then I had learned a lot about the technicality of the language, but I didn't know much about the contemporary German society, what was happening here. And when I used to interact with the tourists who used to come to Oman to travel, it really used to pique my interest. And that is how I thought, okay, maybe this is something that I want to pursue. And that's how I was still unsure at that point. I had actually secured a place for master's in economics and a master's in German at the university, and I was really unsure. And then Vaishali Dapke, who many of you also might know, I have known her for a very, very long time, and I also look up to her as one of my mentors. And she really sat me down, gave me a lot of insights, and that's how I made the decision to do a master's in German studies and not in economics. So I think those 2 or 3 points in time were really big milestones. And the fourth milestone was, of course, when I went to Germany for the first time on a scholarship from the Max Miller Bhavan, the Premium Stipendium. And that's when I actually came to Germany for the first time and spent about a month and a half in Munich at that point. Yeah. So those were the 4 big milestones that led me to the path that followed.
Followed afterwards, right,
Yeah.
right. And then you came here for PhD. So can you like throw a light upon your PhD project and the scholarship that you received for the project?
Oh, so let me also clear one really small thing. I never came to Germany for a PhD. I came for a 4 month for a 4-month fellowship at the University of Tübingen, and the plan was never to continue to stay here. I already had another fellowship from the European Union to pursue a master's in globalization, and because of a number of reasons, I could not start with that program, including health reasons. And then in the meanwhile, my professors in Tübingen, they were they kind of spoke to me, and they said that, you already have a master's degree, why don't you consider doing a PhD? And that's how the whole idea of even doing a PhD came about. So that was not I didn't have the clarity at that point, as much as it sounds right now, that I already knew all along that I wanted to do a PhD. And then I applied for a PhD funding with the Adenauer Foundation. I think I applied also for the Naumann Stiftung. I did not get through in that, but I got through to the Adenauer Stiftung. And then I had a 3-year full-time PhD funding from the Adenauer Stiftung. And my project focused on identity conflicts in Indian cinema, and identity conflicts and the whole aspect of how perceptions work. I can always trace it back to one of the seminars that I always think about very fondly, that was that I visited during the masters, which was Das Indian Bild in der deutschen Literatur. And I think that seminar led to a lot of different projects in the past 10 years in my life. So one of the offshoots of that was also my my PhD project, and the other offshoot was in the space of my career, which was the Media Ambassadors program.
Right. So I was just going to come to that now, that you started with your PhD, but simultaneously you were working on the Media Ambassadors India Germany project. So how did you manage it is my first question. And second question is, what was this project about?
Okay, so to answer your first question, my so usually when you get a PhD funding, the PhD funding is timed. It's usually for a period of 2 years and extendable up to 1 more year. So that's a total of 3 years. And unfortunately, I was not able to finish my PhD in that stipulated time of 3 years. Again, for a multitude of reasons, as life happens to most of us. And then I had to make a choice. So I started working on this program that was funded by the Bosch Stiftung, and which was situated in Hamburg at the Hochschule für angewandte Wissenschaften. And the whole idea of the project was that whatever media reportage was happening on Indian affairs in German media and on German affairs in Indian media was very, very stereotypical till that point on. There was a huge lack of nuanced reportage about nuanced understanding of what happens in India, what happens in Germany. So to put it down in very simple words, whenever you would read about Indian affairs in German newspapers or in German magazines or on German radio for that matter, most of the topics revolved around women's rights, on caste, or on travel, on wellness, like going to Kerala, doing a yoga course and all of that. And when you looked about reporting on German issues in India, it used to more than often focus on the automobile industry aspect of it, and then Germany's role in the European Union, and Germany has a strong economy, to be very precise.
Right.
But beyond that, there was very less information that was being transported about what happens in reality. How are the complex societies responding to a lot of things that are happening in their present times? So I think the foundation, me and my boss in Hamburg, we were really motivated to bring about a change on that level. So the whole idea of the program was that we would select mid-career and senior journalists who would either go to India or to Germany for a period of 3 months, and they would stay in those countries for that time. And the first 1 month, we used to travel really across the length and the breadth of the country. We used to meet a lot of people, policymakers, social activists, people who are actually civil society stakeholders, a lot of things. And then for about 2 months, these journalists used to work in newsrooms. So a German journalist coming to India would work in a newsroom at the Hindustan Times, at the Hindu, at the Times of India. People coming from India would work in newsrooms here at the Süddeutsche Zeitung, at Der Spiegel, Die Zeit. So, like really big publications. And they then managed to convince their editors that they had a lot of interesting news ideas, and they wrote about a variety of issues. So there was actually a series, a friend of mine, like a colleague then and a friend now, who did on different aspects of Berlin and how Berlin as a city has responded to the refugee crisis.
Hmm.
So it was a series of 9 articles. So, so a lot of varied reporting came about as a result of that program. So that was the whole point of doing that program.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And can you also put some light upon your current designation as senior project manager at the Robert Bosch Academy?
So I'm working as a senior project manager at the Robert Bosch Academy, which is actually an institution of the Robert Bosch Stiftung. It's like an institution where we invite very, very senior policymakers, foreign policy analysts, human rights activists, people who have been very influential in the space of policy, in the space of public opinion, intellectuals who define a lot of current discourses, and they stay here in Berlin for a time frame between 3 months up until a year. It varies according to their project and the ideas that they want to realize while they're here. And my job is to, along with my team, we provide them with a lot of socio-political context about what's happening here in Germany, help them navigate that space. We organize a lot of interesting interactions for them, with German policymakers, different stakeholders in the German society. And yeah, so on those lines. So for instance, right now, we recently had, or at the moment, we have someone who is here from Russia, and she just came to Germany, I think, a few weeks after the war in Ukraine started. So now that she's here, a lot of German think tanks, a lot of political parties are interested in understanding her perspective because she's a political scientist, she's a politologist, and she has a very successful YouTube channel, so with about 100,000 followers. So they also want to understand from her what are the things that are happening inside of Russia. How can the German politics respond to what's happening in Russia? So things like that. So that's a part of my job, and the other aspect of my job is then focused on designing a communication strategy. So amongst other things, right now we are also working on a variety of projects that could be then realized in the coming few months once they are a little more spruchreif.
Very interesting. I think it is giving us so much insights into what you have done till now and what you're currently doing. Let's move on to a very different topic, which I really wanted to discuss with you. And we have students who are attending this. And so this question, you have this amazing, as I said, like career trajectory, and you are there here in Germany since 13 years now. So how should students who wish to come to Germany manage the expectations? Like in German, we say der Schein ist anders als das Sein. So, what are the challenges and what are the difficulties? How do you see this aspect of Germany and German?
Yeah, so I think this is also an aspect that we also spoke about, Mohini, when we were talking in a very different context. So I think you as students who want to come to Germany, you should definitely pursue that path, but please be very realistic in what you expect from your stay here. So I'm referring to a lot of these social media influencers these days who have Instagram channels, who have Facebook channels, and they are presenting their life in Germany as something which is very easy to come by. Like recently I came across this posting on Instagram, I think by one influencer, where she said 5 perks of working in Germany, and the first perk was you get a work phone, you get an iPhone. The second perk is you get a work laptop, which is a MacBook Pro. And the third perk of working in Germany is you get a car that is provided by your office. And I think that kind of really is very misleading for people who want to come here and work here, because it presents life here in very absolute terms, that success is defined by having an iPhone, a MacBook, and an access to an office car to begin with. I think that is a problematic thing in itself. And then showing it in a way that it is very easily accessible. You don't really need to put in a lot of effort. You can come here, not really focus on your language skills. You can get away with a lot of things. So I think my genuine advice to anyone who wants to come to Germany is please have a very realistic set of expectations about your life here. It's not that life is more difficult or more easy than it is in India, because the life here also comes with its own sets of challenges. But please don't come here with a sense of entitlement. You're not doing anyone a favor by coming here, and neither are these guys doing you a favor by granting you a visa. So it has to be at auf Augenhöhe, what we say in German. The relationship that you develop with your peers, with your colleagues, with your friends, for that matter. I think those have to be very based on very realistic um, assumptions, and not always with a sense of entitlement. That is one part. And second part is also about what you want for yourself when you come to Germany. I think that is also more than often a big disparity between what people think, what they can take away from their life in Germany. So one very common question that I often get asked is, if I come to Germany, what will be the amount of money that I will be able to save on a monthly basis, maybe 5 years down the line, once I have been in the job market for a little while. And then when you actually tell them whatever amount it is, and then I think it's very depressing for a lot of people, because they try to compare it with the salaries that you could draw by working in the US, by working in Canada, or even for that matter working in the Middle East, in places like Dubai. And I think then there is a lot of sense of disillusionment, because then you're like, what do I get if I come to Germany, if this is the amount of saving that I'm going to be able to do. So
Exactly.
I think a lot of people also need to have this very reality check kind of a thing. There is no right or wrong in wanting to earn a specific amount of money on a monthly basis, or wanting to put away a certain amount of money on a monthly basis. Then it's just that you should be very clear about why you're going to Germany. If saving money and investing in property back home in India is your short-term goal in the 5 years, then maybe Germany is not the right place for you, because you pay a high amount of taxes here. You definitely benefit from the social security that you pay into. There's no doubt about it. But because you pay such a high amount of tax, you're also not able to put away a lot of money on the side, as it would potentially be possible in the US. But on the other side, the amount of money that you invest into going to a place like US is also definitely much higher than you would invest
Yeah.
into coming to Germany. So my urging is not only to the students but also to their parents to have this kind of a long term um, kind of consideration about what are they expecting from their stay in Germany, and what is the reason that is making them take this decision about wanting to relocate, whether it's Germany,
Yeah.
it's US or Canada. So I think these two are the kind of things that I genuinely urge people to think about, and that's why I'm also not exactly very popular amongst people who want the easy answer, who want to hear, oh yeah, you can come here 2 years and you're set, life is going to be so cool. So yeah.
That's not the case. Yeah, completely. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's. I have like two or three more questions for you, and then we can go to the question and answer session. So your career trajectory till now is completely different than we associate with the typical professions that we have with language learning. So what is your advice to the students who are currently pursuing their degree in German language as such and choosing to opt this path ahead?
Of the path of pursuing a.
Not necessarily the language part, but like who are learning German right now and they want to pursue their career ahead with the
Okay,
language
so
itself.
my advice or my suggestion would be, don't treat learning German as a um, means to the end. Like, don't look at learning German as something that would lead you to a translation job, or lead you to a interpretation job, or help you get technical translations assignments. Look at it as a life skill. When you grow up, you don't learn a language because you are expecting to earn money by learning the grammar of Marathi and English. You learn the language because you want to express yourself. So look at learning German as more of a life skill, because if you have heard, like when I was speaking, my career trajectory had very less to do with language as such when I started working here. Of course, knowing the language and knowing the intricacies of the language and knowing
Yeah.
a lot of things that I know because I can speak the language is definitely a value addition for me when I apply for jobs or even for potential employers. So don't underestimate the potential of your language. of your language knowledge, but at the same time don't really stop yourself by doing just by, or how do I say, by focusing on things that are high mark gaining kind of subjects, like I said at the beginning, that these are scoring subjects. So when you have the choice of opting for seminars at your masters or at your bachelor's, which also potentially present a very different side of Germany, a different
Right.
aspect of German life, don't hesitate to opt for those subjects, because I think they really give you a lot of in-depth understanding, in-depth ideas about why German society is the way it is, why German
Hmm.
economy works the way it does. So my urging would be to really be open to whatever kind of offers you have in terms of seminars. Be
Yeah.
very proactive, talk to your professors about it. Don't treat it as one of those boring subjects. Oh my god, like, I have to read Gattungen, or I have to do literatur in their Nachkrieg site, or things like that. Of course, it is a very challenging discourse to go on, because if you've not been exposed to that for most of your life, then
Yeah.
having to deal with something that has something to do with Nachkriegs site in Germany is a very far-fetched idea. But if you allow that initial hesitation to kind of go away, and then actually enjoy that process, I think you have a lot of interesting career paths open for you,
Hmm.
because that knowledge will never go to waste. Like I was just saying, my two of my most interesting seminars that I to date remember was Wirtschaftsdeutsch and das Indian Bild in der deutschen
Deutschen
Literatur.
Literatur.
And of course, Wirtschaftsdeutsch sounds a little more of a scoring subject, but Indian Bild in der deutschen Literatur isn't exactly a scoring subject. But then what you
Yeah.
make out of that subject in your career trajectory is something that is up to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that
Very
is my
interesting.
answer.
Yeah. So we always end our interview with your favorite word or a Redewendung or a Sprichwort.
Mm.
And this is the same that I'm requesting you to tell us.
So my favorite is Dummheit und Stolz wachsen auf einem Holz. So that also helps keep me grounded, because the moment
Mm-hmm.
there is a chance of becoming even remotely arrogant about something by thinking I know everything. I think that's the moment when you should realize that you're being extremely stupid, and there is nothing like I know everything.
I know. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Pradnya. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I
We
hope this
can,
was interesting for
yes,
some of you.
it was beautiful. It gave us so much insights about like starting to learn the language and like taking a path which has to do something with the language. So it is a nice journey for us. Let's come to the question and answer session. We can open the room for that. If you have questions, please put those questions in the chat. I think Pradnya, even you can see it, even I can
Yeah.
see it here.
Yeah.
So
You're welcome, Rutu. I just saw her question. Did you essentially have to work in German? Yeah, so the thing is, it one often thinks that just knowing German is like limited to communication in the workplace. But even if your main language of operation at work is English and German mix, I think the fact that you know the language also helps you understand a lot of those complexities of what is happening around you. So to very specifically answer your question, had I didn't have to work in German, like because of the international nature of the jobs that I was doing, so it was always a mix of German and English. But having said that, the knowledge of German was always helping me, provide that USP element to
yeah.
whoever was involved, be it my employer or be it my partners with whom I was talking to.
Talking to. Perfect. Any other questions?
I don't think they can switch on the mics, right?
They cannot
They have
switch on
they
the
have
mic,
to
but they can.
type the question.
Yeah, but they can type the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
I don't see any.
But maybe if you can leave the mics on, maybe someone will feel motivated to.
Yeah, Can we do that?
I think Isha is the host, so Isha has
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Isha, can you try doing it?
Yes, I'll try. Just a minute. Yes, everyone can unmute if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or any ideas. How did you come up with the topic for your PhD thesis? Oh, so my original topic for PhD thesis was completely different. I started working in international literatures, and then I realized that in the long run, that actually the media ideas was something that I wanted to focus more on. But I think identity conflicts is something that I also experience in my day-to-day life, right? Like, I don't think I'm Indian enough for the Indians anymore, but I don't think I will be German enough for the Germans where I live. So that kind of identity conflict will always be a part of my life, and that's what led me to doing the PhD thing.
Right.
Yeah. If you guys don't have any immediate questions, you can always, I think, also drop me a line. I'm just going to post the link of my website here on the chat, and
Yes,
you'll also
perfect.
find a button to send me an email, and always happy to answer questions in whatever way I can. Or you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. That's also a good platform for you guys to connect with, especially considering your professional aspirations. So
Thank you so much, Pradnya, posting
yeah,
the link.
yeah.
I think if we do not have any questions, we can come to the last part of the session.
Yeah.
Isha.
Yes, thank you, Mohini. I would now like to propose a vote of thanks. So, starting with our guest speaker, Pradnya ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us here today and for sharing your valuable experiences and insights with us. I'm 100% sure that this session was extremely beneficial for each and every one of us. So, thank you so much once again. Next up, I would like to thank Dr. Shivani Parimal ma'am from SPPU for providing us with the platform for today's session. I would also like to thank Dr. Swati Acharya ma'am from Department of Foreign Languages, SPPU, and Dr. Amruta Kulkarni ma'am from Fergusson College for their unwavering support in spite of their busy schedules. Also, a big thank you to Mohini and Parag for being so enthusiastic and taking the initiative. And thank you, Mohini, for conducting the interview in a really organized way. And last but not the least, thank you so much to the audience for joining us today. This session would not have been a success without you all. So thank you. Um,
Um, Isha, Pradnya wants to say something. If you
yes,
can.
ma'am, please.
Okay, so I think I was on mute, so I could not unmute myself. Um, so yeah, I think I also want to thank all of you for having me here, and especially my teachers, including Acharya ma'am and also Rajeshri, and Vaishali Dapke. So I think without any of them, I don't think I would have come so far. So thank you so much. And like I said, if you need any pointers at some point, if you are in two states of mind, not being able to figure out what is the correct way ahead, don't hesitate to reach out, because I know how it feels. I've been at that point, and I was lucky enough to have people in my life who helped me navigate that. So always happy to help in whatever way I can. So thank you so much.
I would now like to request all of you to switch on your cameras if possible so that we can take a picture.
Yes, smile please. Thank you. So that's it from our side. The details of the next session will be posted on our social media handles. So stay tuned, spread the word about this series, and we hope to see you all in the upcoming sessions as well. Vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen. Oh, Moini, please go ahead. Sorry.
Perfect, thank you. I would also like to thank everyone, and especially the volunteers who are helping us to get this project ahead. So thank you, Isha. Thank you, other Isha also. And thank you so much, Acharya ma'am, Amruta ma'am, Pradnya for being there, and also the audience. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.